Okay, this tutorial will run through the first portion of the baseball lines project, and that is what you're seeing here on the screen. We will start with this first pattern up here in the top left of the sheet, this set of squares basically. And so here I've got the completed drawing in Civil 3D, and I will show you the steps that I took to draw this object. And it started with just figuring out what the dimensions should be of this outer square. If I assume that this inner square has dimensions of 1 unit by 1 unit by 1 unit by 1 unit, so a 1 unit square, then that would make this larger square 6 units by 6 units, because let me copy and paste a couple of these. So if I take this object, and I'm just going to join it together so it's one box, easier to move. So if I move all of these boxes together, you can see that really I've got 3 units in this top left quadrant square, which would be the same as, let me do a copy paste here, so I'm going to copy and paste. And I know I didn't get all the lines, but that's fine. This is just to show you what the relative dimensions would be. Move it over. So really we've got 6 units along a side. So this would be a 6 unit by 6 unit outer square. So I'll start with that. I'll start with drawing a 6 by 6 square. And then I'm going to just connect the midpoints of this square with P-line. So I draw a P-line and snapping to my midpoint snap, down to my midpoint snap, and create another P-line from midpoint to midpoint. I have my next step. So we'll move along. After we connect midpoints, how do I get to this? Well, I want to offset this outer square 1 unit to the inside. So if I take my offset tool, specify a distance of 1 unit, and then select my outer square, bring it to the inside, we have our next step. Then I'm going to start offsetting the vertical line and the horizontal line that I used to connect my midpoints. If I offset those 1 unit, so 1 unit to offset, and click on this vertical line, offset it to either side. Same with this horizontal line, I can offset and offset. So here's where I've offset the vertical lines, and then I've offset the horizontal lines, and you can see I'm starting to get the basic shape. Now I can start trimming away some of these lines. So I can select them all and type trim, and then I start just deleting away some lines that I don't want. Like such, giving us our next step. And then again, if I select all and keep trimming, I can simply trim away some of these lines. And notice I've got that first quadrant pretty much ready to go. Again, trimming away all of the lines I don't need. And by the way, you can drag across. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let me try these ones. Oh, it doesn't like it. Okay. So I'll just manually click on these lines and trim them away until I have our next step here. So then I need to draw that central red square that you see right here. And if I expand that a little bit and zoom in, you'll see that the corners of that red dashed square are at the center of the small green square. So how do I do that? Well, I need to find the center point of my squares, and to do that I can simply draw a diagonal line connecting the corners, and that will allow me to snap to the midpoint of this line. So if I made a P line Notice my midpoint snap, that little triangle, snaps to the midpoint on the diagonal line, and I can simply connect them. And then I can erase my drafting lines, or these diagonal lines that I drew. So I can click on those and delete them. And now that's all of the line work in place, I just have to put this line work onto the correct layers. So if I select this inner line and I move it to my red dashed layer, that part's done. Now all I have to do is take these green lines, what were green lines and are about to be gray dashed lines, move them to the appropriate layer, and then a little bit of line type scale. So I will right click, go into my properties, change the line type scale because I know it happens to be 2 in this case, and then we have our finished drawing. So that's our first object. Let's look at the second object on the PDF, and I'm going to do this Celtic knot and show you how I walked through that. So I basically said when I started I wanted to figure out what the dimensions of this inner cross are. And if I count 1, 2, 3, 4 units, then I could say that this line is 4 units, and that line is 4 units, and 4 units, and 4 units, or 8 across. But I'm going to draw these as individual line segments that are each 4 units in length. And I'm going to actually start with vertical and horizontal lines because that's easier to draw. So I can turn on my ortho, draw a 4 unit line, 4 unit line, 4 unit line, 4 unit line. And then I'm going to start using my offset tool again. So I can offset 1 unit because these are all evenly spaced and I need 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, so 4 units. I know I can offset that 1, 2, 3, 4 times to get this shape, and I'll just keep going around. Let me explode this. So I can offset this line 4 times to give me this, and then we'll just keep going around, offsetting, offsetting 1 unit each time. And I have a pretty good start to this drawing. Now I need to start creating some concentric arcs, and to do that I would simply draw a circle snapping from the center, or the center of my circle would snap to the intersection of these 2 lines, and snap the end point of my circle to the first 1 unit offset line that we drew, so that I have something like this, and then I went around and I just created 3 more circles, so I have 4 circles total. And then I can go in with the trim command. So I'll select all my lines and I'll type trim, and I can trim away the parts of the circle I don't need, which leaves me with just arcs. So trim those away. And then again with my offset tool, I'm going to offset a distance of 1 unit, and you can see how easy it is to connect all these line segments, just offsetting to the outside. And I'm clicking on the line and clicking on the side that I want the new line to be on, so clicking on the existing line, clicking outside in this case, clicking that new line, clicking outside, clicking the new line, clicking outside. And then all I have to do is select that object, and I like to type my commands, so I'm going to type rotate. Otherwise you could go back up to the home ribbon and select the rotate tool, and then specify the base point. I'll pick the center in this case, and I want to rotate 45 degrees, which gives us our finished drawing. So that's the second shape that we're going to draw. The third shape, again, kind of another Celtic knot. This one might seem a little trickier, but really kind of the same principles we've been talking about so far. I'm going to start at this point right here where the polylines connect. So I'll zoom in. I'm going to start right here at this point, and I'm going to go with a polyline and my ortho command turned on, or F8. I'm going to go up 2 units and to the left 4 units. So starting here, I'm going to go 1, 2 units, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 units. Because I'm really basing that on the fact that I think this is a 1 unit by 2 unit rectangle. And if we do our math, we'll find that this is really a 3 unit by 4 unit rectangle if I divide it into quadrants. So I'm going to start right here at this intersection. I'm going to go up 2 units and over 4 units, and then down 3 units, over 3 units, and then down 1 unit, and I'm going to just continue around in that same dimension style. So here, up 3 units, over 1 unit, down 3 units, over 4 units, until I get the basic outline of the shape. Then if I use my offset command, and again offsetting a distance of 1 unit, and I offset this whole thing to the inside, look at how easy it is to make these inner squares and rectangles. And then it's just a matter of adding some polylines. So adding these 2 polylines here and here, and then adding these 2 polylines next, and then these 2 polylines, and finally these 2 polylines, which gives us our finished knot. So I know that was pretty quick, but you can rewind and go through that again if you need to. But that was the first half of the baseball lines drawing, and we'll take the second half in the next video.